Hey guys, just a small note for later. I do mention that this film technically came out in 2018 or 2021. That is because the film did come out in 2018, but only went to a few like film festivals, and then it later came out in 2021 on Blu-ray in theaters in America, I'm pretty sure, and VOD. Now enjoy the review. Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another movie review, and this time I took one of my Blu-rays off the shelf and I watched Profile. This is a technically 2018, technically 2021. I'll get into that after the cast and the plot breakdown. But film. It's a mystery thriller film directed by Timur Bekmambetov, and it stars Valeen Kane, Shazad Latif, Christine Adams, Amir Rahimzadeh, and Morgan Watkins. In this film, looking to investigate recruitment techniques of ISIS to lure women into Syria, a journalist creates a Facebook profile of a Muslim convert. When an ISIS recruiter contacts her online character, she experiences the process firsthand. Now, what do I think of Profile? Well, oh, camera froze. Well, I fucking adore this film. This was my favorite of 2018, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look it up later, and if it wasn't, I'll let y'all know. But this is definitely up there for either 2018 or 2021. I didn't see a lot of films from either year, but I'm trying to get to more new movies. Maybe it'll help boost my views, who knows? And there's some newer movies that I'm actually interested in. But this film is like when you go into a thriller, you want nonstop thrills, just the right amount of you know, like room in between the thrills so that it doesn't get old quick. This film has it all. It has a couple of really great leading performances. I'd say amazing even, really, for this type of film. Um, you've got a really interesting gimmick that doesn't come off more as a gimmick, it comes off more as a storytelling device in this, in the screen life format, which I will explain. You've got a pretty good atmospheric soundtrack, and yeah, you've got what culminates in a pretty fucking amazing thriller. I'm saying that for real. Let me get to the cast. Valeen Kane as Amy Whitaker. She is the journalist, a British journalist, I believe, who is trying to pretend to be an ISIS recruit in order to gain intel on how these things are done. She does a pretty outstanding job playing this character. This is again a character that goes through so many emotions, like fear, anger, um, happiness. Just it is a multi-layered character, and once you go through the film of her like playing these two different characters, you really realize how much of this other character is just her herself, and they kind of blend together, and you'll know what I mean when you watch the film. But I do want to see more films with her. She hasn't been in a ton, but I did have one on my watch list, Expatriate. But yeah, love to see more of her. Shazad Latif as Bilal. Um, he is amazing too. He really is. He's again an ISIS recruiter. He really plays it in a very terrifying way where he doesn't feel the need to be just outwardly, like antagonizing all the time. It's more you're waiting for this man to crack and really show his true colors. And I think he played it very well. I really do. I want to see him in more too. Apparently he was in The Commuter. I think he had a fight scene with Liam Neeson, but I'm not 100%. It's been a while since I've seen The Commuter. I'd love to go back and see a lot of those Liam Neeson films I missed. Christine Adams is Vic. She's the chief. She's Amy's boss. She does a decent job. She's not in the film much. Most of the film just centers on Amy and Below. Um, but uh, she's fine. Amir Rahimzadeh as Lou. He's the IT guy that helps Amy learn how to record her calls, and he like helps her with pointers, like on how to act around the guy. He's good. And Morgan Watkins plays Matthew, who is Amy's boyfriend. He's fine. But I recognized this actor right there. He was, well, ah, shit, my camera. I'm sorry, my camera's fucking up. But he was one of the like criminal characters that okay. He was one of the criminal characters that was like messing with Eggsy in Kingsman, the Secret Service. That's what I recognized him from. He was fine in the film. But yeah, this film is one of a few films made in the Screen Life format, meaning that most of or all of the events that take place in the film take place on a screen of some type, be it a laptop screen, desktop. Um, there are certain films that were made over Zoom, like Host, which I still haven't gotten to see, and Dashcam. Uh, but most of the screen life format films that I know would be Unfriended, Unfriended Dark Web, Open Windows with Elijah Wood, Searching with John Cho, which I still haven't seen, um, and this, which when I first saw that this was coming out, I did not know what the deal was. Like, it was announced in like 2018. They were like, it's finished, it's been shown, and I'm like, wait, where? And I don't go to theaters really. Um, just not a big thing of mine. I don't love being around a lot of people. But I was like, oh, I really want to see it. I love Timur Bekmambetov, and the reason I love him is uh America is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And there are a lot of people that do not understand why I love that film. I do want to review that film sometime. I have a 3D copy. I don't have a 3D TV, but still just watching it in Blu-ray will be nice. But yeah, I did not expect to love that movie as much as I did. I still love that film. I've got to watch it again though. He also made Wanted with James McAvoy, Angelina Jolie, Morgan Freeman, which I might have to give that film another chance. Last time I watched it, I wasn't feeling it. I thought it was just kind of decent. But this film, from the first time I watched it, I think I've seen it 3 times by now. I saw it once by myself, the second time with my mom, and would be the third time. And again, I do wish there were special features. This is clearly one of those Blu-rays that they kind of rushed out during the pandemic and didn't want to do special features for because they knew that would cost money. This film was made for like $2 billion, I think. Oh, excuse me. I think it was made for $2 million. But it's just such an intense experience to watch. Um, and just it's insane how much you can do just watching a computer screen, you know? Because the entire film takes place on either a computer screen or like phone video at a couple points. And given what I remember about the first Unfriended, I don't remember much about the first Unfriended. I'll have to give it another watch. I do own it. I have like a Blumhouse like DVD set that it's in, so I'll give it a watch at least. But um this film, just the amount of tension that they're able to build with you just watching things on a computer screen is insane. And it's just like you'd never think that. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. If you can't get into the gimmick of screen life, I can understand you hating this film. I can understand it. I have heard some people make some weird criticisms, and in these reviews, I like to address some criticisms that I've heard about the films, especially if I like them. There are criticisms of films I don't like that I've also criticized, but one of the main criticisms that I've heard is that the main character is an idiot, or she makes a lot of stupid decisions. Now, I'm not going to get too into that because that could crash into spoiler territory, and I do not want to spoil this film. This is a film that I think everybody, just from watching this, should just watch it. Watch the film. Do not look at anything about it. Watch it as a thriller. That's what it is. It's a real life thriller, and just get sucked into it. Um, like it, this film again. If you don't get sucked into it, I can see you not liking it. I got sucked into it because I really enjoy characters that are flawed in some big way. There are films such as action movies where there have been like, excuse me, like perfect characters or like characters without much, much of film films with characters without character flaws that I've enjoyed. Commando being one of them. But that mostly has to do with how entertaining the film is outside of the main character. Arnold Schwarzenegger is very charismatic. No matter how you feel about him acting wise, he is very charismatic and he's a very enjoyable figure to watch. Um, in this film, you have a very flawed main character. She has random shit going on in her own life. She's like having issues with her boyfriend where she feels like he's not listening to her. Her boss feels like she isn't listening to her. Um, she just can't seem to get a break. She's constantly like having to worry about money, and she sees this story as a way out of that because if she strikes it big, she won't have to work nearly as hard for a while, which I can understand that. As someone who's not making much money at work. Uh, but like with this film, I feel like that okay, if you feel like this character's stupid, fine, whatever, but I will put a small retort into that. People make mistakes, and this character makes mistakes that aren't unreasonable. Like, I'll just mention one. She has to make a separate like user on her MacBook, which most of these movies for some reason are on MacBooks as if Windows computers just don't exist. But she has to make a separate user for this character that this woman that she's pretending to be. And there are times later where she forgets to switch to the other user so that in case Below wants to see her desktop again or wants to her to share a screen, she can do that. That is something that many people seemed to get upset about. They were like, "Oh, she's so stupid. How could she?" If you were in that situation where you were so terrified that like at any second this person could possibly like dox you and have like a bunch of like terrorists like at your door, I'm pretty sure you'd make the same mistake. That's a stressful fucking situation. It really is. And I just don't think a lot of people understand that. And a lot of this, the whole point of her like making these small mistakes is to show that, yeah, even this like pro journalist can make mistakes. She can fall for the charms of like a handsome, like, you know, ISIS recruiter. I don't know if all of them are handsome, who knows? But if you see the film, you understand what I mean. She makes mistakes that are realistic. Some of them are intentional for her to get deeper into this and like get a better story. And it's also kind of a cautionary tale of how journalism, a lot of these like undercover journalists really do risk their lives in order to get actual stories. This woman, the actual woman who goes by the name Anna Arel now, I think. This is what journalism used to be. And if anything, this film shows how shit journalism is nowadays. When you see videos like the one of all of the news stations saying the exact same thing about fake news, like maybe I'll link it down below, but if you've seen it, you know what I mean. Where it's just people reading off a script. That's what news is nowadays. News nowadays is just, oh, let's read what's on the teleprompter. Let's not actually give what the news is, but rather what a very like abridged opinion on it that's not ours. That's not what news used to be. You used to have journalists who would risk their lives and like risk even their jobs in order to get a better story, and then they'd be rewarded for it. And that's why I tend to not stick with news on either side, because a lot of it is biased either way, and then you get people who aren't on that side, and I tend to stick to tend to stick to citizen journalists on YouTube because you're seeing everything firsthand instead of just a very, simplified opinion from someone who's trying to divert the attention either way. And yeah, this film does make me wish that there were more journalists like this nowadays who would risk their lives and risk their well-being. And I know that sounds bad, but like at least one. I can't think of a single journalist nowadays that does this, like a journalist that works for like a big news company. It's all just people reading off of teleprompters. It's really sad to be honest. But like, yeah, this film, like I've said multiple times, it is hard for me to talk about movies that I fucking love because I love them so much that I want people to just go in blind. And even though I've shared a couple things about the film, I'm being vague enough to the point where you can watch it as if you've never heard about anything from it. Um, but yeah, again, if you do not like the format, if you didn't like a film like Unfriended, not for the format of it, the screen life format on the desktop, but rather the writing or the storytelling, I do think this is 100%, like 300% at least, better written than Unfriended. It's not subtle. Not a lot of films are subtle, and a lot of the subtle films suck too. But this is a film that gets the point across. It doesn't come off as like propaganda. It feels like it's telling its story as faithfully as it possibly can, and staying very like I've read about the true story. I doubt quite a few things that happen in this film happen in the true story. That happens with every film. It happened with Sound of Freedom. Not everything that happened in Sound of Freedom was true. Get the fuck over it. No, nowhere. You see, based. You see what that says? It says based, based on the incredible true story. Based. That is what this film says. Inspired by true events. Not just true events, inspired and based on true events. So, with that said, if you go into this film expecting a one-to-one of what actually happened, like you did with Sound of Freedom, and then said, nothing that happened in the film in real life, you're lying. You, you're lying and putting unreasonable things onto a film that says based on. So with that said, I give it the pros and cons. Again, Valeen Kane and Shazad Latif give some pretty great performances, to be honest. Um, Very relatable character played by Valeen Kane. The direction from Timur Bekmambetov is really great here. Um, the score from so hard to read. I had a Who the hell did the score? Andy Ross. The score from Andy Ross was pretty great. Um, it worked very well for the film, and there's a bit of a motif whenever a bit of a stressful moment is happening. It'll be like subway cars like going through a tunnel underground. It'll like slowly get louder. It kind of reminded me of in Godfather when the one guy gets shot in the head at the two guys get shot in the restaurant, and it's like shh, and then the guy stands up and shoots them. It kind of reminded me of that, and I do like that as a motif. I do like that. Um, the film runs at a very at a lightning fast pace, and the characters are well built up to the point where you actually do give a shit about them and hope that they make it out of this alive. Um, cons, I don't know. If I can think of any cons, it would be that like I would have liked to have seen a bit more of. I'd like to have seen a moment where um Amy and Matthew were happy together, because for most of the film it seems that they're like more just stressed at each other, and I do wish that there was a bit more of like them being actually with each other. I know it's a nitpick, but still it's just like I just wish that it wasn't as black and white between them, where it's like, oh, obviously something is up with this relationship, and yeah, I if anything that. But yeah, um, that was my review of Profile, holding it up the third time. If you like the review, comment down below, like the video, subscribe. If you've seen the film, let me know what you thought, and Movie Reviewer Next Door out.